Welcome. My name is Mark Kleinschmidt, and I have the great privilege to serve as the president of the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce. Each year, the Chamber holds this annual dinner in March, and it's one of our largest events of the year. This dinner has evolved over time to have some different formats. We've kind of evolved to the point that it's not the typical annual dinner where we'll have a lot of speeches and award presentations. What the Newcastle County Chamber likes to do with our dinner is we like to kind of use it as a mechanism to deliver a message about an important theme. The last 2 years we held our dinner in Newark, and we focused on two important themes in that case too. 2 years ago we celebrated the entrepreneurial spirit with Damon John from Shark Tank, and we were at the Bob Carpenter Center that year. And last year we were also at the Bob, and our focus was about thinking differently about key issues particularly about journalism, education, and innovation, and we had those presentations done in a TED Talk type of format. This year, we're proud and pleased to return to the City of Wilmington, where our theme is the business future of Wilmington. Special thanks tonight to our friends at the Doubletree who've done a great job in putting together this evening with us, and our friends at Showworks who helped put together this spectacular video presentation that I hope you'll enjoy throughout the evening. For decades, the City of Wilmington was viewed as the economic engine of the state of Delaware. Over the years, trends such as the declining population in the city, which was caused in many ways by the suburbanization of Newcastle County, the expansion of the global economy, and just natural urban problems and urban challenges have really taken the steam out of that economic engine here in Wilmington. But it's important that Wilmington regains its economic vitality, and the Chamber and the entire business community can play a very important role to ensure that there's a strong business climate here in Wilmington so the city and all its businesses can be competitive in our local economy, in our region, in the world, and create jobs here in Wilmington. So tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to have 4 presentations from 4 organizations that collectively are going to be investing almost close to $1 billion in the city of Wilmington over the next few years. So with that in mind, just kind of give you that setup for the evening, we're going to get started with the national anthem. And so we're very pleased this evening to have the St. Mark's High School choir with us, and so they're going to make their way up here this evening to sing for us. The concert choir is under the direction of Bunny Diaz-Scanis. They appear all over Newcastle County and the state. They do a tremendous job. There's 18 people in the full choir. Tonight we are privileged to have 11 folks with us. So as they make their way over, it's always good to have a few Spartans in the room, right? Any other St. Mark's folks? I'm a St. Mark's grad, so it is a good school, and we're glad that you all can have here. So the stage is yours.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land
Wow. Thank you for that, St. Mark's High School Concert Choir. And thank you, Mrs. Diaz-Canis, for putting everybody together to be with us this evening. Just a couple of quick announcements or acknowledgments, then we're going to have some welcoming remarks. Tonight's dinner stands out among many of the Chamber events throughout the year because it's our largest fundraising event of the year. And these events are only possible in many ways because of our sponsors. At the Chamber, we have a special group of companies that we call the President's Circle. And the President's Circle is we have 17 companies who have participated in this. And these 17 companies have made large-scale commitment to the Chamber by sponsoring our events throughout the year. I'd like to recognize them this evening. Our President's Circle sponsors include AAA Mid-Atlantic, AstraZeneca, Comcast, DE Taxes, DE Staffing, Delmarva Power, Delaware City Refining Company, DuPont, Fitzgerald Consulting, Highmark Delaware, M&T Bank, TD Bank, the News Journal Media Company, Wilmington University, ABNC, Precision Air Convey, Reed Smith, and IFS Insurance. About a round of applause for our President's Circle sponsors. Tonight, we also have a couple specialty sponsors. Our VIP reception, which we had a little bit earlier, was hosted by Excel Business Systems, JP Morgan Chase, and Buccini Poland Group. And tonight, we will also be having our Swim with the Sharks video competition presentation. And we are pleased to have Newark Chrysler Jeep as a sponsor of that, along with BDO, WL Gore, and the Wilmington Airport. So about a round of applause for those folks this evening. And as I mentioned, our stage sponsor is Showworks Audiovisual. As you'll see through the evening, a very dynamic display that I hope you'll find enjoyable. And we had a couple contributing sponsors, Terrence Roberts Photography and McClafferty Printing. So thank you folks for making those things happen tonight. What I'd like to do is, as we are here in Wilmington, I would like to ask our host, the Honorable Mayor of Wilmington, Dennis Williams, to come up and bring greetings. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, welcome to Wilmington, the best city on earth. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Chamber for having this event here at the Doubletree, and I want to thank the Doubletree for this great food you're about to put on in this great location. Wilmington is on the move, ladies and gentlemen, and I want to thank the Newcastle County Chamber. When I first got elected, they reached out to me, came to my aid, and started working with me right away. And that's what it's all about, ladies and gentlemen. It's about teamwork. With great players like this and team members, we're going to make things all right. Things are going to turn around. If you look at what's going on in the city now, and I hate to keep talking about crime, but I have to bring it up. We haven't had a homicide in this city in 12 weeks. It's because we have put our officers on the street. We are working 24/7, and we're stopping everything that moves, ladies and gentlemen, with the right probable cause. I tell my officers, as long as you abide by Title 11, Title 21 in the United States Constitution, we have nothing to worry about, and we are going to be relentless. We will not let up until this city is safe. Thank you. Have a good time tonight.
Thank you, Mayor Williams, and thank you for letting us come to your city. We wanted to be here in Wilmington by choice, and that is a great thing. What I'd like to do now is to invite the governor of the state of Delaware to come and share some comments and bring greetings to our crowd of about 400 folks this evening. So the Honorable Jack Markell.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Well, good evening. Good to be here. Good to be with Mayor Williams and our County Executive, Tom Gordon, with members of the General Assembly and other elected officials, and most importantly, with all of you. I want to pick up on the mayor's comment. It is, and I think, Mark, this idea of having some of the folks who are investing in Wilmington talk tonight is a great idea. And I think when you think about the employment base here in Wilmington, some of the biggest and most important banks in the world, some of the most important law firms in the country here, as well as so many other great employers, Wilmington is in an enviable position. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars being invested, new residential units, people moving into the city, very, very encouraging. And we want to see more of it. On a statewide basis, you may have seen we released on Friday, unemployment rate is now down to 4.8%. Significant improvement. It's not where we would like it to be, but it's certainly a whole lot better than it was. And we look at job growth just as much as we look at unemployment. And if you look over the last 2 years, the job growth in Delaware, more than twice as fast, almost 3 times as fast as our surrounding states, amongst the fastest job growth in the country over the last couple years. And there are a number of reasons for that. And we never forget that it's not government that creates jobs, but it is up to government to create the kind of nurturing environment where businesses want to hire. And we know that employers have more choices than they have ever had before about where to locate, expand, and hire. We spend a lot of time talking to our employers here in Delaware and asking what it is that we as government can do to facilitate their success. And over again, the number one thing that we hear has to do with having a great workforce, having a high-quality workforce. And I think it's really important that we all take a moment to thank our educators who are in the room. Those from our K-12 system. I know Mark Brainerd is here, from President of Delaware Tech, as well as our other institutions of higher education. We could not do this without you, and I'd ask all of you to join me in thanking those in the education world. And of course, they can't do it on their own, because they're only as good as the partnerships that they have with our employers, understanding really at a pretty granular level about the kinds of skills that our employers are looking for. And there's nothing more frustrating than to talk to an employer who says, I've got 5 or 10 or 50 or 100 jobs that are vacant because I can't find people with the right skills. And yet that's what we sometimes hear. And so the work that we're doing, in particular, we've got all the major financial services companies at the table working together to accelerate the time frame, to make it faster for us to train people who can do IT jobs in that industry. Over 1,000 vacant IT jobs in Delaware in the financial services industry. We want to fix that, put 1,000 people, more than 1,000 people, back to work. And the same thing is true across a whole range of industries and fields. That's one important area. Another important area we hear about from, often from businesses has to do with the level of regulations in the state. But it's not enough to say that there are too many regulations. You got to tell us what specific regulations don't make sense. So a couple of years ago, with the support of a bipartisan group of legislators, we created an initiative where we invited businesses and folks from the public to come in. We had town hall meetings. Each of our agencies had town hall meetings in each of the 3 counties where businesses could come in and tell us the specific regulations that were impeding business growth. And as a result of that process, we either got rid of or changed about 130 regulations statewide. We want to continue that effort, and it should continue long after I'm done as governor. And I've also asked this year that the General Assembly pass legislation requiring regulatory impact statements so that before new regulations are issued, we're very thoughtful about what the impact may be on businesses. So that's the second area. The first area around workforce, the second area around regulation. Cost of doing business we know is very, very important. We continue to focus on that as well. There are a number of other really important areas, certainly education, which is part of the workforce development area. Very encouraged by some of the things, by many of the things going on in education, all the way from pre-K through K-12 and college access. One thing in particular I'll mention to you, we just got numbers last week. We know how important the science and technology fields are. And we went back to 2012, just a couple of years ago, the number of students in Delaware who took the AP Bio test in 2012, about 400, pass rate of about 38%. Last year, just 2 years later, over 600 and a pass rate of 60%. So again, we're not where we want to be, but very significant progress, and that needs to continue across a whole range of fields. So between workforce development, the regulatory environment, the cost of doing business, our education, Infrastructure, we need to continue to invest in our transportation and other infrastructure. Very important. You know, I could spend an entire night talking about that. I won't, but it is something we've got to do. And finally, there's one other tool I just want to mention, and that is the state's strategic fund. And this is an important, you know, in an ideal world, no state would compete based on whether it can write a check to a company to expand or to come here. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world. And I'm not prepared for Delaware to compete with one or both arms tied behind our backs. And so when you look over the last few years and you think about the significant success of that fund, whether it's the refinery, which I can guarantee you would not be reopened were it not for the support of the General Assembly and that strategic fund. We're at companies like SEV1, which recently announced they're going to be moving to the Star campus and adding hundreds of jobs. Believe me, they had great choices elsewhere. Whether it is the JP Morgan Chase, a big company which had choices all over the country, frankly, all over the world, but is investing big in Delaware. Whether it's work at the Star campus where we're creating a wet lab for small businesses, again, thanks to the strategic fund. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of these examples. And at a time where resources are precious, we know, how difficult it is for the General Assembly to do their budgeting, but we also know that when it comes to deciding where are we going to hire, where are we going to expand, having these resources, think of a company like Insight doing an incredible job in the pharmaceutical field, deciding to move into the old Wanamaker building on Augustine Cutoff. There are lots and lots of examples. And I want you to know that when we understand the strategic fund is your money, it's tax money, and our job is to make sure we get the very best return on that investment we can. And so I think when you put together the whole package, workforce development, regulatory reform, education, cost of doing business, infrastructure, and the strategic fund, we are going to keep the pedal to the metal for the city, for the county, for Kent County and Sussex County. We want to continue to drive that unemployment rate down. We want to continue to drive job growth. That's going to be good for all of us. I want to thank the Chamber for the advocacy and for the work that you do, and to all of the members, we look forward to continuing to work with all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Governor, for those words and also for the leadership. And I think the governor's exactly right. It's putting all those things together and sticking to it. And the governor has done a great job in trying to continue to move the state forward. Now I'd like to turn it over to the chairman of the board from AB&C, Paul Pomeroy. Paul has been our chairman for the last couple of years and has done a great job in keeping us on task and kind of moving us forward with a lot of new ideas and a lot of energy. So ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Paul Pomeroy.
All right. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it. And on behalf of the Board of Directors of the County Chamber, I'd like to welcome and thank you all for being here. We are delighted that you are, and thank you for taking the time to be a part of this great event with us. And one more time, these events do not happen easily or by accident, and Mark and his team have done an amazing job, not only leading the chamber, but doing a great job with this event. And join me, another round of applause for them, please. So this is my third time up here, and possibly my last, and I really, it gives me a chance right now to say a few things that I have been important to me over these last couple of years. This is a fine, fine organization to be a part of in terms of what the county chamber means to not only to the county, but to the state of Delaware. And I think about the last three events and the type of things, and Mark mentioned them a little bit earlier. If you've been here for the last few dinners, we've really been able to touch on a couple key topics: entrepreneurialism and innovation and kind of driving business forward. Things like that happen. And you know what Mark also mentioned, we've been moving the event, the location around. A good, progressive, proactive chamber does things like that. They try to get out, get ahead of issues, do things proactively, and think progressively. For those of you who are in here and there are many of you naturally who are part of the business community. It doesn't make a difference if you're in the private sector or the public sector. You know that status quo is the enemy of progress. And resting on its laurels is something that this organization does not do. Mark and his team, this chamber, and all of you who are members work very hard to move an agenda forward to make Delaware a better place to be. Business organizations, business advocacy organizations, and Rich Hafron's here too from the State Chamber, and there are a lot of other ones, but we have a lot of good partners that we work with to drive agendas here in Delaware that fight the status quo. And I will tell you that it has been a great pleasure to be a part of an organization that has taken on that challenge, and being able to work with so many of you to do those type of things here in Delaware has been exciting. I have the pleasure of just highlighting a couple of things this chamber has been a part of over the past couple of years that I think that all of us here should be very proud of. This last year, over 200 events were held and sponsored by the chamber with over 6,500 attendees. And those events ranged from all different sort of topics, and they were phenomenally successful and touched on a range of advocacy and educational issues. Truly phenomenal. Speaking of legislative advocacy, this chamber, along with other good partners that we have in other chambers and other business organizations, have tackled some tough issues legislatively, locally, county, statewide, with great success and a lot of energy and a lot of vigor. This chamber has been involved with key economic growth initiatives in Newark and in Wilmington. We've been a part of educational initiatives, which have been exciting. And this year is the 7th anniversary, this May, I believe, of the Emerging Enterprise Center. And during that time, that entity has been involved with over close to 30 startups and have created over 100 jobs. This county chamber has been broadening the notion of what a modern chamber should be. And every one of you who have had a role in making that happen should be proud of that, as I am proud of it and everybody else here certainly should be. And here's the reason why I think. One, we should be proud and why we need to do this. I've been around in business long enough now, and of course a lot of you have too, to know that here in 2015, Delaware is not a business community nor an economy that's dominated by one or two companies. There are a lot of companies that make up who we are and what we are as an economic engine here in Delaware. And all of us working together, working against anything that makes us feel like the status quo is what we should be settling for here, is what all of us need to continue to work hard on moving forward in the years ahead. And I'm so very, very proud of what this chamber has done to be a progressive voice for the business community, what each and every one of you have done to do that as well. And I'm very excited about the program that we have tonight, the topics that are going to be discussed, and everything that lies ahead for both the county and for the state, and certainly for the chamber and everything that you all have done. I want to thank each and every one of you again for what you do to make Delaware a great place to be, and thank each and every one of you for being here again tonight. Thank you.
All right, well, how about something different? That's a cue. All right, there's the music. Well, this is the third year we have run the Swim with the Sharks program. And this is an outgrowth of the visit from Damon John a few years ago. So the contest is this. We're looking for early stage businesses, 3 years old or younger, that have an idea, a plan, a passion, that can tell us about it in a 3-minute video or less. They needed to tell us what they were going to do, what their business model is, what they're doing, what would they spend $2,500 on. Again, not a great deal of money, but to an early stage company, it can really make a difference. We got 12 videos that range from different types of products, services, ideas at different stages. Some of the products were already in the market, some were in the developmental stage. So the way we select the winner, we let you all decide. So we got the 12 videos, put them online. We received 1,700 votes. 1,700 people voted for the videos that were in place. And then we took the top 3 and we put them out for a second round of voting and a review by a panel of judges. And so after that whole process, we have selected a winner for the 2015 Swim with the Sharks video pitch competition. So what I'd like to do is kind of of like a pass the torch thing. I'd like to ask the last 2-year winners to come up. Sakti Vale from Numbersby and Greg Starr from Carver Ties, formerly Penguin Advertising. Both of these companies won the Swim with the Sharks video pitch competition. They're going to help us present the big check tonight. And both of them are doing very well. So you guys come forward. I can see you out there somewhere. I don't know if Greg is still here. So here's our last 2-year winners. Okay. So who are the 3 finalists? So with the miracles of technology, I think we're going to get the list of the 3 finalists on the big screen. As we work to get that, I can tell you who they are. We had Deer Valley Great Danes, Delaware Shout Out, and Uncle Louie's Food, LLC. So you could see quite a range of folks who were there. And after going through the voting and the judges' analysis, we have, a winner has been determined. And that winner is, a little shark music maybe? Or am I getting greedy technology-wise here? There it is. You gotta love that. So, and the winner of this year's 2015 Swim with the Sharks competition is Deer Valley Great Danes. So if you guys could come forward, please. So you may ask yourself, what does Deer Valley Great Danes do? And again, through the miracle of technology, let's take a look at the winning video. If we can make that happen, we're going to run that on the big screen here. And we have a happy winner here. So
Hi, my name is Corrine Roseman, owner and founder of Deer Valley Danes Food for the Life of Your Dog. Deer Valley Danes started in 2014 as distributors for Oma's Pride raw dog food and Opaw's freeze-dried dog food, as well as our very own hand-cut, handmade beef and chicken treats for your dogs and cats.
Our home base is in Greenville, Delaware, and we take our business on the road attending dog confirmation shows and pet-related community activities as vendors for our products.
We ship anywhere in the United States using FedEx or UPS.
We offer free delivery in Newcastle County and surrounding areas.
A very large part of our business plan is not only to market a product that we believe in and stand by, but also to take this opportunity to give back to the canine community by supporting these agencies that provide food, shelter, medical assistance, and care to these very special animals.
We are in the process of establishing new contacts as well as maintaining our existing professional relationships with local organizations. We work to support these agencies in many different ways.
We sponsor many pet benefit events by donating raffle prizes that draw in donations. We offer complimentary welcome home packages to new families that have opened their homes to animals in need. We even host a Facebook page called Feeding Raw, where we encourage people to share their experiences, thoughts, and even recipes in a positive, open forum.
To all our friends and clients, we offer membership to our Facebook page, Feeding Raw, and our business page, Deer Valley Danes. Feeding Raw offers support and encouragement to those interested in feeding their dogs and cats a clean, raw diet. We have members who have fed raw for over 30 years, as well as people who are new to feeding raw or are just interested in learning more about a raw diet. Members are encouraged to share tips, recipes, stories, ask questions, or post topics related to the well-being of their pets. Deer Valley Danes' business page offers links to our website. Members have access to current and upcoming events, as well as ordering products, pricing, and shipping. We also post the latest news regarding our dog friends and family. So join today.
Should we win the Newcastle County Chamber of Commerce Swimming with the Sharks grand prize, our intention is to expand our business so we can support those agencies that help our lost and forgotten pets.
All right. We're going to just go a little off script here for a minute. I'm going to ask Frank DeSantis, our program manager, to introduce our winner, to make a few unscripted remarks. So, Frank, will you do the honors? I'll put the pressure
Thank you.
on. No pressure.
I'm pleased to announce, well, not to announce the winner because you already know, but to introduce Corrine Roseman, who is the founder of Deer Valley Danes, a locally owned company founded in Greenville, Delaware that distributes their products and has really led the movement of eating raw for pets and animals. Corinne, come on. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I don't even know what to say. I forget what my business is at this point because I had no idea. This is a huge surprise. We started the business in 2014. My love of Great Danes, I've been doing confirmation shows and, for years. And we started as a distributor for Oma's Pride, which is a raw dog food company in Connecticut. And we recently have our own label that we started, Deer Valley Danes. It's funny, we have quite a following now at the dog shows, and locally it's considered the treats that I make, they're referred to as dog crack. So we are the drug dealers of the dog show world, but we're really excited about it. And also, 2 weeks ago, this is something on my bucket list, but my first cookbook came out for dogs. And it's now available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I can give myself a plug for, for my cookbook. But this is always something that I've loved to do, and I love dogs. And I'm hoping, this is really an exciting thing for us. But with the $2,500, something we'd like to start is SPCA has something called the Lonely Hearts Club, and it's for animals that have been that aren't adoptable, that are special needs, that are older. And we like to start by providing packages of food for these animals as an incentive for adoption, and also to give people some education and some understanding of how to feed their animals a better way, and to keep our animals as healthy as we possibly can. So this is something that's very true to my heart. I love cats and dogs and horses, and God only knows what else I can bring home at the time. So this is just absolutely amazing, and thank you very, very much. This is a huge honor, and I never in a million years thought this was going to happen, but I thank my family. This is a small family company. Am I talking too much? No, no. Okay, just shut me up. Now, I was going to say, now I'm started. But, everybody in my family is involved with this company. My mom's 84, and she packages all our treats and measures everything out. Both my wonderful sisters are involved. My oldest sister, Monica, is my co-author with my cookbook. My sister, Kimberly, who does all of my marketing. My nieces and nephews are involved. My nephew, Jonathan, is my techie. He's amazing. My son is my surly delivery boy. It's a family event, and it's always something that I've wanted to do with a family business. My mom was a member of the chamber years ago. She was the founder of SH Deliveries, which was, if you're familiar with Parcels, it's around Parcels Inc., legal delivery service. Those two are in direct competition. So, it's just something that I always wanted to have a really excellent family business, and I love having my whole family around me at all the times, and all my animals on top of it, so it's really a win-win situation. So we really look forward to implementing some really fabulous programs with rescues and in-need animals, and I thank you very much for voting for me. I really appreciate it.
We're going to get over here and get a little a photo op. Let's go move over to the side here. And the other thing, I'm going to do a little network, a little connecting the dots here. Deliveries, did I hear deliveries? One of the businesses in the Swim with the Sharks contest last year was a company called Delivery Circle, and I think Vijaya Rao is here with us this evening. It's kind of like Uber meets FedEx. So you need some help with deliveries. If I got an incubator tenant for you, so maybe we can get you guys hooked up. So let me jump in here. Okay, great. And I think one of our many bank sponsors would be willing and lovely to cash that check tomorrow for you. So I was also going to ask for a quick photo op over here, our sponsors, BDO, to come up with a representative, Newark Chrysler Jeep, and the Delaware Airport for a photo op here, if you guys are still here with us like that. So, okay. And Carol and Tom, I see Tom up there, so guys come on up. Yeah, we can get it right here. Let's grab the medallion too. Get that in the picture here. The other thing, each the prizes the Delaware Valley Great Danes gets is a $2,500 cash. They also get a year membership to the Newcastle County Chamber, as does the other two participants, Delaware Shout Out and Uncle Louie's Foods. And as you know, membership to the Chamber is priceless. So. All right. All right. Great. Thank you. Thank you. How about some exit music? Could you tee that up? Oh, okay. I was going for it. Thank you. Upward and onward. So it's always great and exciting to see an entrepreneur excited like that, and that's what it's all about. The Chamber is always pleased to add new sponsors and supporters. Actually, just recently we added a new President's Circle member, AT&T. So I wanted to recognize them and thank you for your support tonight. So let's kind of move into the presentations of the evening. As many of you know, or maybe you don't know, the Chamber has over 200 members who have operations here in the city of Wilmington. And a great many of them had concerns about the economic conditions in the city. So in December of 2013, we put together a new committee at the Chamber, which we called the Wilmington Business Leaders Network. And we reached out to Paul McConnell from McConnell Johnson Company and Hal Reel from the World Cafe Live to chair this committee. And their goal was really to bring together people to talk about the issues and opportunities in Wilmington and seek out ways that we, the business community, could do some things to implement change and move Wilmington forward. So the committee had met a couple times since December of 13 and came up with a lot of great activities, ideas, and are starting to move forward with those. Two that I wanted to share with you this evening is the 5K in 5 initiative. And that really circles around the idea of getting 5,000 people to move into the city in the next 5 years. And this can only happen through a lot of hard work and a lot of focus. And we've boiled it down into 4 key areas. And those areas are the need for effective incentives. We need regulatory reform to make it easier for businesses to get started and move through the process here in Wilmington. We need some better amenities for businesses and residents to be here. And we need an attitude. We need an attitude that Wilmington is the place to be and things that can happen. I think you heard it from Mayor Williams tonight that he's got that attitude and that passion. So the 5K in 5 initiatives is something that we're going to continue to focus on and move forward. A second product of the Wilmington Business Leaders Network has been the CEO Summit that we've put together. And it's not a one-time deal. It's turned into, literally, it's going to become a monthly meeting of some of the largest Wilmington-based businesses to talk about the same things. What can they do collectively to improve the public safety and economic conditions here in Wilmington? So the primary idea behind all of this was basically to set up an effective mechanism for communications between the business community and the government. And it's not just the government here in Wilmington, it's the state plays a role and our federal legislators too. And it's all about revitalizing the city of Wilmington. So we're very pleased to be actively involved with the Wilmington Business Leaders Network to do just that. Before we bring up our 4 presenters, I wanted to just take a minute and just share with you some of the other things that our members, the Chamber members, are doing in Wilmington that you may or may not know about. Some of this stuff is really groundbreaking. The Community Education Building, that is a very innovative education initiative that was really made possible by the combination of generosity from the Bank of America and the Longwood Foundation to take one of their buildings and turn it into a high-rise home for 4 charter schools. And in the next 2 years, they're probably going to have about 2,000 students from Wilmington in 4 different charter schools in the same building in Wilmington. This initiative is headed up by Aretha Miller. And if you haven't had a chance to meet Aretha, she is a ball of fire and focus and is really doing a great job in moving that forward. And it helps because it cuts costs, a lot of shared services there in that building. So I think it's also probably the only example of something like that in the country. We have multiple charter schools in one building. The Ferrari School is another charter school that's come to Wilmington after 16 years of great success operating a high school in Philadelphia. They are going to be opening the old Blue Cross building down on 14th Street to become a charter school with high academic standards and deliver a lot of kids into college. Kelly Davenport and Bill Porter are here this evening with us, and they're doing a bang-up job to move things forward. And we're working with them to help them through some permitting processes in the Wilmington area so they can make sure that they meet their deadlines and get opened. A lot of us spend some time down on the riverfront. I'm sure you've noticed the new Westin Hotel down there. That's opened within the last year, 180 rooms, a state-of-the-art legal services facility. So that adds a lot of value down there. Lots of parking, too, down on the riverfront. So that is another absolutely positive asset for our city. Baseball season's coming. Chris Kemple and the Blue Rocks are busy to get ready. They are going to have probably this year 300,000 people come to Blue Rocks baseball games down on the riverfront. That is a very significant number, and they bring economic activity into the city. And the Blue Rocks are pretty happy, too. They're going to be rolling out a new product this year. They partnered with another chamber member, Krispy Kreme. And what's going to be down at the ballpark? You all got to get one of these. The donut hot dog, right? All right. Wait till donut hot dog night, right? I don't make this stuff up. So we'll see what happens with that. We've also got some great things going over at the Port of Wilmington. It's a great opportunity to expand our work, or the incoming shipments and the outcoming shipments. The Delaware River dredging is a very important aspect to that, and I'd like to recognize Dennis Rockford from the Maritime Exchange for the Delaware River and Bay, who's tirelessly advocated for that dredging, has really made it happen. So I think the Wilmington Port is got a lot of upside. I'd also like to point out that the port business does not necessarily have to stop at the city boundaries. County Executive Tom Gordon has put forward a very energetic and exciting proposal to create a port expansion just a little south of the Del Memorial Bridge, which could create a lot of economic activity here in Newcastle County and the city of Wilmington. I mentioned Hal Reel and the World Cafe Live. Hard to believe, it's 4 years since the World Cafe has been opened here in Wilmington, and what a great addition it has been. If you've been, everyone's got to have been there at least more than once now. I always ask, who's been there? You have to have been there more than once. Great venue for song, for music, events, and things of that nature, but Hal and his team have done a great job renovating that and marketing that facility. Over $25 million to renovate that 45,000 square foot building. Last year, over 100,000 people attended events at the Queen Theater. So they are clearly becoming a great anchor down there on Loma. And we were proud to have our 4th annual Chamberpalooza concert there just a couple weeks ago. Thanks for taking such good care of us, Hal, on that really, really fun evening. The Wilmington Renaissance Corporation has been a leader in downtown Wilmington's revitalization for many years. Under the leadership of Director Carrie Gray and their chairman, new chairman, I guess incoming chairman, Glenn Moore from Delmarva, they've really been spearheading that initiative to create a creative district in Wilmington, utilizing some of the funds that will now become available by the governor's initiative, the Downtown Development District. So they're reaching out and taking advantage of a new program that's been implemented. And Downtown Visions celebrated their 25th anniversary just recently of promoting and protecting the downtown area. Under the leadership of Marty Hageman and working with Will Meister, they've done a great job in marketing Rodney Square and doing some things. And recently, Clean and Safe Ambassadors have been expanded over to the Delaware Avenue area. So that's a great positive thing for the Wilmington community. And just 2 other things that chamber members are doing. There's a lot going on at the old Hercules building. If you haven't been over there, you need to check it out. A portion of the building has been converted into what's now being called the 1313 Innovation Place Center. And this is a place that supports entrepreneurial activity. And this is all because, and thanks to the vision and dedication of Paul McConnell, he's brought together many early stage companies who now can collaborate, share ideas, and share space to come up with new businesses that will grow here in the city of Wilmington. And finally, Delaware Tech. Del Tech has a great presence here in the city of Wilmington, and under the leadership of its new president, Mark Brainerd, it's poised to grow even more. Del Tech is making students job ready. They offer quite a lot of programs in varied degrees here in Wilmington and around the state. And Del Tech's a big part of daily life here in Wilmington. There's about 6,000 full and part-time students that come here, I don't want to say every day, but in the course of a week to Delaware or Wilmington. So it's a big activity generator. So it's clear to see that chamber members are really making a difference in the business future of Wilmington. So I just wanted to highlight those, actually it was 10 businesses and members that are doing some substantial things. So now what I'd like to do is get a little bit more of a deeper dive. So I'm going to ask our presenters to kind of, we'll do them one at a time, to come up and talk a little bit about what they are doing here in Wilmington. I'm not going to do any long bio introductions because I wanted to give the time to them. So what I'd like to do is have Marge Hannum from JP Morgan Chase to come up and talk a little bit about what's going on at JP Morgan Chase and what are you guys doing here in Wilmington. Marge Hannum, ladies and gentlemen.
To everyone, and thank you for being here. I know it's a Monday, you worked all day, you just had a dinner, so if you feel the need to stand up and stretch or anything, I won't be offended. Please do so. Before I get started, I did want to thank Mark and Bob Chadwick also for the opportunity to come speak with you this evening. And in addition, I want to thank the entire board and Paul Palmer for the fabulous work that they're doing to support businesses in Delaware, both large and small. A really incredible amount of work that's being done. So the role that I play at JP Morgan Chase, just by way of background briefly, is I head up a group called Consumer Practices. And basically what that means is I'm the eyes and ears of our customers within our businesses. And we do that by basically, we put our feet in the shoes of our over 65 million consumer customers and 4 million small business customers every day. And that's a lot of shoes. And we do that in a number of ways. And the one that you'd be most familiar with is if everybody's called into a call center, right? And you hear that recording that says, this call may be monitored or recorded for quality assurance purposes. Well, that's true, and that's me. So, that's one of the ways that we do listen to ensure that we are providing the service that we expect to our customers. We're delivering on our commitments. We're clear and straightforward. As a personal background, I am not a native Delawarean. Actually, at the cocktail hour, I was talking to Alan Levin, and he asked me if I was a native Delawarean, and I tried to convince him I was, but because I wasn't born here, he said it didn't count. I was born not too far away in Philly. I spent my early childhood there, and my parents wised up, and they saw an opportunity to move to Delaware. They saw a nice place to raise a family, so I moved to Delaware, graduated from Christiana High School here, also a graduate of the University of Delaware. And after graduating, decided to remain here in Delaware to raise my family and also for my career. So you could say, although I'm not a native Delawarean, I am a Delawarean by choice. Similarly, when you think about JP Morgan Chase and its relationship with Delaware, the company was not founded here, but JP Morgan Chase also is a Delawarean by choice. And when I was asked to speak here tonight, I thought, let me go back and take a look into the history of, when the company really began doing business in Delaware. And I knew it had been a while, but frankly, I personally was a bit surprised to learn that the relationship goes back a century. So back in 1915, when World War I was raging across Europe, in partnership with the DuPont company, JP Morgan helped finance the creation and sale of munitions and explosives to the Allies. And in fact, John Pierpont Morgan Jr., Jack as he was called, brokered the deal to be the sole provider of supplies and munitions to both England and France during the war. And those were manufactured by the DuPont company. So very long history here in Delaware. And that continued in peacetime in the 20s. JP Morgan helped to finance Pierre DuPont to purchase majority of shares of General Motors and really take control of that company. I'll fast forward because I only have 10 minutes. But here we are a century later, and we have a long family tree here in the state of Delaware. And if you think about some of the predecessor companies that make up what is today J.P. Morgan Chase, here in Wilmington you had First USA, the First Card, we had Bank of New York, Bank One, Chase Manhattan Bank, just to name a few. I'm sure I'm missing a few there. But through the course of the time, our employment here and our commitment to employment here has remained constant. But I'm happy to say that's changed now. But it's changed for the better. In the last couple of years, our employment in Delaware has grown by 30%. What does that mean in numbers? It means 2,000 more employees of J.P. Morgan Chase work right here in Delaware. We have... And our over 8,500 employees today in the state makes us the second largest private employer here. And we have 4,500 employees who come to Wilmington every day to work. And I believe that makes us the largest employer here in the city. So a strong commitment to Delaware. And as we're continuing to grow here, so that's not over. So in January, I don't know if you're familiar, but our commercial bank announced that it's expanding into the Delaware market and opening an office right here in Wilmington. And Mark Schreiber, who's sitting over here with the J.P. Morgan table, Mark, wave to everybody, is leading that effort to open the office here in Wilmington. And our middle market business provides comprehensive financial solutions to mid-sized companies across the country. And the team provides industry expertise, local decision-making and delivery, personalized service, and a deep array of products, all critical to building long-term relationships. And this new opportunity is going to give Delaware businesses the potential for a global reach as they expand their businesses and marketing share. And in today's global economy, we want to make sure that the home team competes both locally and globally. So what makes Delaware, you step back and say, what makes Delaware, with a small wonder, such an attractive place for a global giant like J.P. Morgan Chase? Well, to me, and I'm biased a little bit, right? It's a no-brainer. It's the best of both worlds. I mean, Wilmington is strategically located. Someone mentioned it earlier today, right? You have 95, Amtrak, the airport in Philadelphia. There's also tax-free shopping. You have Winterthur, Longwood Gardens, Brandywine River Museum, to name a few. And for those of you that are not shopping fans, there's also those sports teams that are nearby in Philly, the Eagles, the Phillies, Flyers, and of course our own Blue Rocks. But, you know, with all their recent records, Blue Rocks aside, I'm sure, but, you know, I know that's not a big attraction, but I'm not going to go there tonight. But as chamber members and business people, I'm guessing that you're really more interested in the economic decisions behind our presence here and our commitment. And there are many, but just in the interest of brevity, I'm just going to give you three. One is the people. I mean, the reality is Wilmington grows and attracts great people. I mean, we're fortunate to work with so many talented and dedicated professionals. The local talent pool here benefits not only us and other financial services companies, but it also firms that need good people experienced in financial disciplines. And then hand in hand goes attitude. Attitude has been mentioned previously this evening, or attitude as they would say in Philly. But financial services companies have come under great public fire in recent years. And the reality is, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Some of it we got the old-fashioned way, we earned it. But a fair amount of it is a byproduct also of the anti-corporate sentiment that you see that ebbs and flows in society these days. And, you know, during tough times, you really learn who your true friends are. And this community has stood by us and supported us, and for that we're very grateful. The second is the business climate. I mean, for years, Delaware politicians just understand something that others don't, which just boggles my mind. I really don't get it. But they just don't seem to understand that it's businesses that create jobs. It's not politicians. Now, politicians create an environment through legislation and policymaking and the like that make it an incredible difference in a company's decision about where it's going to do business. But you know, here's three examples that make a difference to us in Delaware. First, the Financial Services Act, right, which set the table for the credit card industry to call Wilmington home, and for me to have a career here, so for that I'm very grateful. The second, the riverfront redevelopment, again, near and dear to my heart, you know, transforming a former shipyard into a beautiful residential, recreational, and convention center. And if you've not had the opportunity and you've not been here long enough to see the before and after pictures, you really should take the time to do it. I mean, under the leadership of Mike Persicki of the Riverfront Development Corp, with the support of the state and local government, it is really a wonderful example of the type of progress that can be made. And then the third is the infrastructure across 202 corridor, where AstraZeneca created their consolidated operations site in Fairfax, which this year becomes a new tech hub for us at JPMorgan Chase. All three of those examples were driven by Delaware governors, the first by Pete DuPont, Tom Carper for the Riverfront, and Jack Markell for the most recent. And so those elected officials who are here tonight, thank you for your consistent focus on creating a positive environment for all of us. Your work's made our decision to grow in Delaware a really easy one. And lastly, I want to touch on is we can make a real difference here in this community. And when you're surrounded by like-minded leaders from other companies, the government, the community, you're just able to make a difference. You know, far too often, things like, you know, where we saw the military veterans return home from active service and have difficulty transforming, getting back into the civilian workplace. They should be coming home to a paycheck, not an unemployment check. You know, we at JPMorgan Chase were one of the founding sponsors of the 100,000 Jobs Mission, which is an initiative that companies hire 100,000 veterans by the year 2020. I'm happy to say that that goal has now increased to 300,000. And right here in Delaware, Chase, we've hired 435 veterans and continue to add more to our active payroll regularly. There's clearly an opportunity to do much more on a broader level. As we look at the challenges facing Wilmington, you know, there's public safety, education, workforce readiness, quality of life. We see the opportunity to make real impact. And that work's already begun. And we're proud to partner with a number of people represented here in this room on the East Side Rising project, you know, which is going to help reduce crime and improve a neighborhood that desperately needs it. The project's going to create a mixed income community of homeowners who are economically and socially invested in Wilmington's East Side. And the goal is to create 150 new energy efficient homes over the next 5 years. And additionally, along with other financial services firms, the city council, we've been working with the attorney general and governor to develop tools to combat crime and revitalize Wilmington's downtown business and residential districts. I mean, last year, the governor signed into law legislation designating a downtown development district in Wilmington, and we're happy to report that we assisted in this and that $1.6 million from our mortgage settlement as part of the Strong Neighborhoods Housing Fund went to the downtown development district here in Wilmington. This is the kind of progress that can only happen in Delaware. I mean, seriously, where else do you see examples of a bank actively working and partnering with the Attorney General's office for the betterment of the community, right? We're working together to leverage our philanthropic funds as well as those from the mortgage settlements and other sources, public and private, in a positive, constructive manner that best serves our communities most in need. So I can't think of another place in the country where this is happening, and we should all be proud of the example that we are setting for others. And that's just one more reason why Wilmington's a great place to do business and why JPMorgan Chase is Delawarean by choice. So in closing, when we work together, we can make a real impact. That's one of the things that's different about Delaware, and it's one of the main reasons we're doing business here. And on a personal level, it's one of the primary reasons that I'm proud to call Delaware my home. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Marge, and thank you, JPMorgan Chase, for choosing Delaware. A lot clearly happening there and a lot more that can happen there. So now let's kind of move our way up Market Street a little bit and head on up to the college, Delaware College for Art and Design. And with that, I'd like to ask Stuart Barron, the president of that institution, to come up and talk a little bit about what is going on at DCAD, as it's called, and why Delaware and why Wilmington. So I introduce Stuart Barron.
Thank you, Mark. Good evening, everybody. I just want to say how really honored I am to be among tonight's speakers. It's a unique opportunity for me. It's a unique opportunity for the college. There are many people in this room that don't even know anything about the Delaware College of Art and Design. Maybe you've heard something about it. You don't know where it is. You've never been there. Those are really unfortunate things. I found this to be true when I first joined Rotary, and I would sit next to people, and they would say, "What do you do?" I said, "I'm the president of the Delaware College of Art and Design." And they would say, "Where's that?" Well, we were 4 blocks away, but they didn't know anything about the college. Briefly, we are the only residential college in Wilmington. We have parents of about 200 students that entrust us with their sons and daughters each year to come and live in Wilmington. They do it with confidence. When the mayor talks about crime, we don't see it. We don't see crime. We're in downtown. Downtown Wilmington is a very safe place to be. And our students feel comfortable here. They make Wilmington their home, really. They're around a lot. They give Wilmington a younger face. They certainly give it a creative energy that they possess. But that's sort of background about the college. We're the only nationally accredited School of Art and Design in Delaware as well. We are now under the eye of one of our accreditors. They're staying in this hotel tonight. They arrived yesterday, and we're in the midst of one of their visits. And I think they're pretty happy with what they find. I'd just like to read something briefly. It's only 2 sentences. One's too long, and the other's the part that's important. It says, the college's mission is to educate talented and dedicated students to become art makers, idea generators, problem solvers, and visual communicators who can redefine the way we perceive and experience the world around us. Yeah, every art school can say that. But what every art school can't say, which is the second sentence, it also serves as a visible stakeholder, cultural anchor, and catalyst for the revitalization for downtown Wilmington. We are absolutely committed to that. 3 years ago, we purchased a defunct hotel, the Brandywine Suites Hotel. We turned it into one of our dormitories. It's been a huge success. In that process, we kind of reaffirmed our partnership with Buccini Paulin. They were great to work with. We were very comfortable, and we felt that their commitment to downtown Wilmington was something that we wanted to emulate too. I think it's important that people understand that Wilmington is really a special place. All you need to do is walk down Market Street and look at the architecture. I mean, see what's there. And it's not just raw materials. I'm on the Main Streets board. I'm actually the chair now. And over the last few years, the last 4 years, we've been instrumental in taking down all of those pull-down security gates that are on the outsides of buildings, so it doesn't look like a prison. And we've made it more hospitable. And I think that somebody mentioned Will Minster earlier, and Will deserves a lot of that credit as well. But we are committed to downtown Wilmington. We feel that our fortunes and the city's fortunes are tied. It is really important for people to understand that we are bringing kids, and I think of them as kids, they're 18, 19 years old, coming directly from high school. They come to Wilmington. They're here for 2 years. They transfer to another art school. We're a 2-year art school, foundation school. They transfer to the best art schools in the country, and many of them who are not from Wilmington come back to Wilmington, because this is the place where they first became who they're going to be for the rest of their lives, and they recognize that. In most cities or towns where there is a university or a college, students have an affinity for that place. It's no different here. Wilmington is not some wasteland. It is really a vital place. These kids see it, they understand it, and they're part of it. They're part of it when we have outside groups or individuals come in and partner with some of our students on projects. Our students did the logos for the Governor's Downtown Development District Awards. Our students were part of DART, designing bus shelters, bus stop shelters. They're not bus shelters, they're for passengers. But anyway, we also have students who do the Mid-Atlantic Food and Wine Festival poster each year, and it's their program cover. These are competitions. They're run in a very professional way, and what people get to see is not, the business of talent is overrated. What really matters is people have an interest that gets them to the door. Once they come through the door, it's how hard they work. And these kids work incredibly hard because they want to, number one, but they also know that something is depending on their performance. They will transfer in 2 years. And that transfer to them, whether they go to the Rhode Island School of Design, or they go to UArts or Moore College of Art and Design in Philadelphia, or Pratt, where many of them go in Brooklyn, the Maryland Institute College of Art in Baltimore, Boston Museum School. They go everywhere. They go to the Chicago Art Institute. But the point is that they understand what's at stake for them, and they perform. And one of the things that we've been thinking about and that we are hoping to do to engage further with the community, because that's a responsibility that every college and university has where it is. It has to engage with that community. So what we are going to be doing, as it's in development right now, is we're going to be doing something that Drexel does. We're going to have a co-op program in which our students will be able to do, through an academic year, they will do 2 internships. They will be able to go out into businesses, corporations, and perform in ways that they can, which is to add something that is about design, that is about interior design or graphic design or photography, and every one of our majors. And as interns, I think they're going to bring a lot to all of you. I think that for us to think that we just have this 2-year job to do and we keep the students sort of close and we take care of them and then we send them off isn't enough. So if we establish a year between the 2 years that they're literally in class at DCAD, I think that, number one, they're going to be more attractive as transfer students. Number two, they're going to know more about the field in which they'll study. And lastly, it means that when they graduate from the second institution, their ideas about what they can do will be limitless, because they'll have all of that experience behind them. They will be able to apply what they do every single day, which is critical thinking. We don't have courses in critical thinking like some other schools have. We don't need it, because they're doing that constantly. And if you were to meet our students, and some of you have, you would find that they are impressive. They actually talk to people. They don't walk around with their heads down. They make eye contact. They are really remarkable kids. And I say they're kids because they are. And if you're not a kid when you're in art school, you're never going to be a kid. It's a wonderful experience, but it's hard. It's not easy. A lot is demanded of them, but they perform. And when we're able to offer interns to the community, it's my hope that the chamber is going to be able to help us, not for the students, but for yourselves. It's not just for the kids to go out into the community and help. It's also for people to really benefit from the abilities and capabilities these students have. When we start this, which is actually going to be in 2017, it's complicated because you have to get them there in the first year, which is 2016, and then they started in the second year. So it's a little down the road, but it's not that far off. And having our students in the community will, I think, help people to better understand who we are and what we do. We can't expect everybody simply to walk in the school and say, hey, what do you do here? Although we do like to have that happen. It's a nice thing. I don't give tours when there aren't students around. It's not any fun for anybody. But we have exhibitions. We're part of the Art Loop. We are a place where we welcome people in. We actually have a student exhibition up right now that is remarkable in the quality that these people have exhibited and what they can do. And it's across the board in every major. And so what we have tried to do, satisfy our students. So we have 6 majors. I won't go into them all. But now we have created 16 tracks so that there are selections that students can make within those majors. They feel empowered. It's part of their deciding what they're going to study. It's really helpful. That's for students. The co-op program's kind of for their parents. You know, I mean, we can convince them that it's good for them, and they want to do it. But in us talking to people, it's really the parents who want to hear things like that because they're very aware of the value of working in the field while in school. And so I think that the Delaware College of Art and Design is in Delaware, but more importantly, it's in Wilmington. It's a great asset. It's a remarkable opportunity for kids to come to a school that's of this quality and then go to a school that they may not think they would ever get into that school when they're in high school. About 40% of our students are minority. 93% of them get financial aid. And they earn every bit of it. And it's worth it. It's worth it when they walk out onto the street and they interact with people. It's worth it when people come in and see what our students can do and talk to our students. And it's just a lot of fun. I have a better job than anybody in this room because I really don't work. I go into school every day and get to see these people. I get to work with a dedicated administration, a dedicated group of faculty. And everybody says the same thing. What's in it for the students? That's all we're about. We don't have any other income. We don't have side jobs here. We don't make coffee cups and T-shirts and things like that. Of course, if you want to buy one, you can go to Jerry's Artorama, which we brought to Wilmington. We brought that business, that's a national business, to Wilmington. There's no other art supply store here. So when you think of our mission, which is to be a catalyst for the revitalization of downtown Wilmington, and you think about the hotel, you think about the art supply store, there are a lot of things that we've done, sometimes in partnership with others, sometimes by ourselves. We have a wonderful board. We have supporters who understand the real value of what our school offers. We are about half the cost of other private art and design schools. And we are able to prepare these students for almost anything. And the testament to that is their success rates. At one of our transfer schools, which I won't name because it's kind of a big school and they don't need any more mention than I would give them. However, we discovered recently that DCAD graduates transfer there and then graduate in 2 years from that school at an 87% rate, an 87% graduation rate. The students native to that school, in other words, the students who started there in their first and second years, like our students started with us, graduated at a 41% rate. So, somebody's doing something right. And it really has to do with how much the students are willing to work. And I would invite people down. We're going to have an opening at the first, it's Art Loop, which is going to be on April 5th, I believe. And I would just hope you come in and see their work, but see them. That's really a lot of fun. In any event, our mission is that which enhances Wilmington. It enhances Delaware. And Delaware and Wilmington enhance us. It's a great way to do business. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart, for that presentation and those comments. Clearly, a lot is going on at Delaware College of Art and Design. And I had the opportunity to go through the school with Stuart, and if you take him up on his offer, you will be truly amazed. All right, so we've heard a little bit. Well, first, let me say this. I'd like to just recognize our United States Senator Tom Carper, who's joined us. Thank you for coming, Senator Carper. So as we heard a little bit about banking and what's going on at the bottom of Market Street, we worked our way up, talked a little bit about what's going on at Delaware College of Arts and Design. Now we'd like to kind of move into probably the fastest, and perhaps as many of us look at this, the most important industry is healthcare. Clearly a vibrant sector in our economy across the country. And here in Wilmington, we have Christiana Care, who's made a major investment in the Wilmington Hospital to make that a great 21st century facility and a great job creator. So we're fortunate to have with us tonight Dr. Edmondo Robinson, who's going to tell us a little bit about what's going on at Wilmington Hospital. Dr. Robinson.
So good evening. I was promised that I wasn't the only one with slides, but apparently I am. I'm an academician by trade. I promise this is not a lecture. Let's start. See, I have pictures. It's not a lecture at all. So let's start with this picture, which I'm going to try to convince you is actually a hospital from the late 19th century, as you can see there. And I'm going to try to prove over the next couple of slides that that hospital is located exactly where the current Wilmington Hospital is located. Right, so some others have mentioned their legacy in the city of Wilmington. Our legacy is 125 years old. And you'll notice that that building that you see in this next slide looks just like the building that we had before, a couple more chimneys, right? So over the years, some expansion took place, and then you'll see the same building right in the middle of that picture. But now you see the kind of traditional hospital wrapping around it. This is 1940. As they build the original towers around the Wilmington Hospital. So there's the West Tower. You can see the North Tower there in the background behind the chimneyed building from the 19th century. And right before we started the most recent construction, this is what the hospital looked like. The main entrance actually is tucked behind the little two-story building there in the middle. The little two-story building there in the middle is where the original building with all the chimneys used to sit. The original footprint. And now, this is how Wilmington Hospital looks. You can see the original building is back there, and then you see the South Tower, which sits up front, right? So this is the current Wilmington Hospital. No, we're not done with construction just yet, but we have invested over $200 million in this transformation. I appreciate JP Morgan Chase being here as the second largest private employer in the state. We happen to be the largest private employer in the state with over 10,000 employees in the state of Delaware. Not that it's a competition or anything. So, you know, the goal here was to talk about investing in the future. So when I thought about investing in the future, I had to think about, well, what is the future? Especially what's the future in healthcare? So a couple of words come to mind at Christiana Care around what the future looks like. And so that's what I have up now. So respect and caring, expert and innovative, partnership, affordable. You cannot get away from that affordable concept. You've got to embrace that affordable concept. I know you guys know it's very, very present in the media. So what does all this sum up to? It really sums up to value. So you want to drive towards value in healthcare. And those words that you see there, all those words are actually part of what we call the Christiana Care way. It's really what drives us, is what we're about on a day-to-day basis. So when you invest in the future and you look around, think about value, we have to understand, first of all, who are we and how are we going to get to that future? So first, does anyone recognize that first quote there? Just shout it out. Yes. St. Francis de Sales, be who you are and be that well. Right? So we deliver health care. We do a really good job at it. If you didn't know, and I'm talking about Wilmington Hospital here, right? So we have a Center for Advanced Joint Replacement, one of the busiest and the best in the country in Wilmington. We have our inpatient rehabilitation services. We have a bariatric surgery that happens at Wilmington Hospital. We have robotic surgery taking place at Wilmington Hospital, right? We have some of the best and brightest minds at Wilmington Hospital. It's one of the best centers, medical centers, you can actually get care in the whole country. The Christiana Care Health System as a whole was rated as a top 100 in the major teaching hospitals. So top 100 major teaching hospital in the entire country. So just for reference, there are over 4,000 hospitals in the country. Christiana Care is top 100. Not only are they top 100, one of 17 that were rated that received an award called the Everest Award. The Everest Award rates your improvement over a 5-year period. So how are you improving? So it's great to be really good, but how have you improved over 5 years? Again, there's over 4,000 hospitals, and we're one of 17 that was rated as the top in improving our quality and safety within our health system. So if I can leave you with anything, is that the care that you are receiving at Christiana Care Health System, as well as at Wilmington Hospital, is the best in the country. Do not be mistaken. It's the best in the country. Right, so be who you are and be that well. We have to embrace what we do well, and as we look at what the future holds. And what does the future hold? In healthcare, actually, it's about health. And what's the difference between health and healthcare, right? So health is broader than healthcare, right? Healthcare is what I deliver as a physician on a day-to-day basis. You come in, I see you, I take care of you, and you go back home to your family, and then you start thinking about the rest of your health, your education, your income, your social supports, right? Health is much more broad. And what we have to do as a health care delivery system is really start to embrace health in the broader concepts. Even though we're not necessarily experts in those other areas, how do we embrace our role as a member of the community in thinking about health? Well, there's those aspects of it, right? So we're a major employer. Right? That's important for the health of the community. We're major educators, right? So we're not a university, but we educate residents. We educate medical students. We educate our own staff. We educate the community. We're actually major providers of education within the community, within the city of Wilmington as well. And many of the folks that we educate, the trainees, same with DCAT, many of them come back and end up being your primary care providers and your specialists within the community because they have that connection to Wilmington and to Delaware. We actually investigate, so research, right? So the research that we do drives the care that we deliver, right? It's really very, very connected. And we're also, obviously, we provide care, and again, some of the best care you can possibly receive. So part of our role within the city is to really help the city achieve the high potential that you've heard other speakers talk about. So that high potential has been recognized by other folks outside of the state. So there's an entity called the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Innovation. And CMMI has given out grants across the country, very, very competitive grants. And the state of Delaware received one of these grants for a model they call the state innovation model, which Senator Carper is very familiar with, right? And this is a $35 million grant to the state. And the goals that were put forth in the state innovation model was Delaware is going to be one of the top 5 healthiest states in the country. It's going to have top 10% in quality and patient experience. And they're going to do all that while lowering costs at the same time, right? That's the goals. Very aggressive goals. And here's the approach, right? So you can read some of the approach, but I wanted to highlight this idea of healthy neighborhoods, right? This concept that we come together as a community, we think about health, and we do it as a community. Wilmington is ripe for leading the state and being a healthy community. There's so much potential to do that, and we are completely committed as an institution at Christiana Care in helping the city lead the way in terms of being the healthiest state in the country and doing it all at lower cost. So investing in the future, then, we have lofty goals around health, and we are absolutely committed to achieving them. We really, truly believe that the city of Wilmington can lead the way there, and we firmly believe that a healthy city, again, not healthcare, a healthy city, is a happy city. So, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson, and thank you, Christiana Care, for having such a long-term presence and commitment to not only the city of Wilmington, but to health. Our last speaker represents a company that has been a true leader in the renaissance of the city of Wilmington, the Buccini-Poland Group. You may have heard through some of the comments tonight, Chris and Rob Buccini's name mentioned, and the partnerships that they've forged with many organizations throughout the city. And they've brought some new style development, some new thinking, and are really moving the city forward in a positive way. They have a vision for the city, and they are delivering on it. Somebody who's very instrumental in making that happen is their development director, which is Mike Hare, who's going to be our next speaker. And Mike is going to tell us what the BPG group is up to currently. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mike Hare.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you hanging in there. My fear when I saw was batting cleanup that I thought it would be Paul Pomeroy, Mark Kleinschmidt, and 3 busboys listening. So I'm glad you're sticking it out for the cleanup act, and I hope it's worthwhile. I'm also relieved that the slide set is already up there. As I was watching the other speakers, I could see kind of the live film, and I was terrified because even though I've been eating raw for almost 30 years, it reminds me I was on city council. All the city council meetings were televised locally. And it's really better than watching professional wrestling when you watch city council. And one of my friends said, Mike, you looked a little heavy the other night on council. And I said, well, they say the camera adds 10 pounds. And they said, well, they must have 3 cameras on you. So it was terrible. But tonight I'm going to talk about specifically Market Street and our involvement in Market Street and the multifamily residential development with which we've been involved in BPG. And Mark in the setup mentioned Rob and Chris. I also want to acknowledge a couple of my colleagues that are here tonight. John Groth, who's our Executive Vice President of Construction and Development. Sarah Lamb, who has several hats, who's our Director of Design and also handles all of our public relations. She's an architect by trade and works closely with our leasing group and all of our development projects. And Rob Snowberger, who's new to the firm. He's a project manager, very well educated, an MBA from Wharton, and also Navy SEAL, has served 2 tours in Iraq, which, extraordinary. But he's never been more afraid than working with Rob Buccini, so whatever that means. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about what we have here, a little bit of an oversight of BPG, roughly $4 billion in assets, and this is not meant to be an advertisement, but all for some perspective. Own, operate, manage, develop about 6 million square feet of real estate, and it's spread through several states, including Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware. We have assets in New York City, Washington, D.C., Tennessee, and developing a hotel in Portland, Oregon. And I try to demonstrate the breadth of what we're doing only to show that our true heart, our true passion, our focus remains Wilmington, Delaware. I did hit the, there we go. This is just to give you a little bit of breadth of some of the things that we're doing currently. This is a map kind of showing the projects with which we've been involved. And if it's, hopefully the slide is discernible to you, but shows kind of the heavy concentration really along the spine of Market Street. And today I'm going to focus really on what we're doing on Market Street, as well as our attempts to move further west in the CBD. So we want to start talking a little bit about our residential portfolio on the riverfront, just as a frame of reference. And you may recall the Christina Landing project was started in 2006. And at that time, we delivered 173 multifamily rental units to Christina Landing, 185 condominium units, and 63 townhomes. And the townhomes, they arrived in front of the boom, and the balance of the project arrived really at the collapse. So we did very well here, but please report that this project, the multifamily residential, is 98% leased, and we've sold all but about 10 condominiums, which are occupied currently. So a great success and kind of our first foray into the riverfront. The next project is Justin Landing, which you may recall the state of Delaware, along with the City of Wilmington and the Riverfront Development Corporation, issued a request for proposal for the redevelopment of the former Public Works Yard on the riverfront. Along with that project came several $million public investment in the infrastructure, basically to create a grid system within the riverfront. And this project included 220 rental units, as well as 125 condominium units, and all but one of the condominium units is sold. So created a real neighborhood in the riverfront. And we just opened this past December the next phase of Justin Landing, and you can see that on the screen. That is the residence at Harlan Flats, which is 116 residential units. It includes a pool. It's really probably the best product we've delivered to the market to date. We've learned a lot from how to build, and you're building to a rental rate. These get high rents. These one bedrooms here rent for between $1,450 and $1,500 a month. We hit the market probably the worst time in the leasing market. We hit at the end of December, but we're about 31% leased to date. So we're very pleased with the leasing progress there. So talk about our residential story and where it started. When Rob and Chris came back to Wilmington, the first BPG project was to acquire the DuPont assets of the Brandywine building, the Tatnall building, and the Nemours building. And the Nemours building is on your screen currently. And we, in addition to repurposing the 450,000 square feet of office and redeveloping that, we delivered 85 long-term stay rental apartments there. Originally part of the Marriott rental system. We've rebranded that in the last year and fully renovated them in 2014 as Luxia Suites. And so their occupancy there has been very strong. And again, this is for corporate tenants, consultants in the community. We have rentals as short as 1 or 2 nights, but several long-stay tenants in this property. The next project was the Delaware Trust building, and you may remember the great tower that was here. The building basically lay dormant from 1997 to 2003 as a result of the terrible fire that took place there in April of 1997. And we converted this building to 280 rental apartment units. On Rodney Square, it was the first real major project of delivering residential for BPG in the CBD. It was kind of being developed contemporaneously to Ship's Tavern. At the time, I remember in the late 90s, 2000, when many of the studies were done to discern how many people were really living in downtown Wilmington, suggested maybe 100 to 110 people. So at that time, 85 units added at Ship's Tavern and then 280 here. The next projects are really a series of projects. There's really one image here, and it shows the progression, kind of the historical view of 421 North Market Street, currently the home of Lafayette. And this is representative of a significant investment that we made. A kid in the office that we think Chris Puccini one night got drunk and he bought 29 parcels on Market Street. We had, as you can imagine, our assets on the riverfront, the assets of the Delaware Trust Building, and the concern was how do we protect our flanks and reinvest in the balance of the city and protect both significant assets at either end of the street. So it was a time when money was available. We know the banks were lending. A lot of easier money was available. And BPG acquired 29 parcels between 2nd and Market and 10th and Market. And the goal was to reinvigorate the 2nd and 3rd floors of these buildings with the live, work, play approach, that we could recapture these units for residents as well as reinvigorate the retail at the ground floor level. The challenge was that the cost of renovating a property in 2008, 2009 compared to spaces that have been vacant for nearly 40 years was a big challenge. There's glass tubing for the lighting. We had gas lines that still ran to provide the power in these units, and this could not have been done to deliver this to a market rent without public support. And the City of Wilmington created the Upstairs Fund, modeled after a couple of programs throughout the country, one namely in Pittsburgh, where it provided loans that would convert to grants over time for investment in life safety, products in these projects. For example, to bring them up to current codes, to add the second stairwell, to put the smoke eaters in the hallways, to get all the second means of egress into the buildings that's required to make these units livable. And but for that investment, we wouldn't have been able to accomplish what we've done. But across 7 properties, we delivered 40 residential units in 2nd and 3rd floors, as well as attracted retailers to the ground floor spaces. Current projects. I want to talk a little bit about the 600 block. And speaking of DCAD, you can see kind of on the left-hand photo, in the right-hand side of that photo, is the DCAD building. And in the 600 block, now the 608 project, we're developing 28 residential units, market rate units, right next to DCAD. This will come online in the spring of this year, and we look forward to I think it's really a great building in scale. It's a great addition to the neighborhood, and we're doing more on the 600 block. This is, many of you may know, as the former Dell State building. Those that's been around a little bit longer, it's the Kennard's department store that we're converting into residential units as well. More than 40 units here in this building. You can see the steel still going into the building. It's been pretty exciting just to see the cut through to add more windows into the building. It looks great, and we project this will deliver in August of 2014. Another great project is Market Street Village. And Market Street Village was announced a little over a month ago. And you can see this involves 3 properties. The center property is the former Wisfis building at 838 North Market Street. On the right-hand side, you recognize the Walgreens at 839 Market Street. And on the left-hand side is a property that we owned at 6 East 3rd Street. And the thought here was, how could we capture this explosion of teachers coming to Wilmington with the charter schools, with the existing schools and teachers surrounding the CBD. It's a way to capture young people thematically to get them into space and maybe find a more affordable way for them to live. And again, as we've talked about, to animate the downtown with young people and create some energy. And as you know, this is, for as long as I've been around, for as long as there's been a downtown Wilmington, 9th and Market was Main and Main. And with Wisfis moving to their new headquarters at 500 Delaware Avenue, we needed some, and of course the tower becoming residential on across the street, we needed to create some more energy here. So the thought was to put together this project, and this has been financed several ways, including historic tax credits as well as low-income tax credits, housing credits through the Delaware State Housing Authority. This project is scheduled to deliver in August of 2015. This is just our little bit of marketing pitch here, some of Sarah's hard work, but our new marketing website. And you see 421 Market Street in the background, Lafayette. And again, it's another one of those photos. We've seen several of them tonight. Yes, this is Wilmington, Delaware. This shows our new branding. Kind of, you're familiar with Loma. Many of you may be familiar with Loma, the lower Market Street. We've rebranded our Market Street properties to MKT. You can see the hexagon to signify that. And again, this is just a map to show that high concentration along Market Street. And this actually kind of presents a little bit of the challenge for us as we show how we kind of move more westerly. I do want to talk a little bit about who lives here. And I think what's important on this graphic is that our folks, they work at where you'd expect. The high concentration of our employees work for DuPont, they work at JP Morgan, they work for Cap One, they work for Christiana Care, significant employers. So all the growth that we've talked about earlier this evening fuels our residences. I think the most important point to identify is that so many of the people moving in our properties are from out of town. And we see kind of what's important to them. They want access to work. They want amenity-rich properties. And speaking of the survey, to echo what Stuart said, fewer than 1% of our tenants identify crime as an issue because they live in safe places. Moving forward, the next project we're focused on is the recapture, and this is the footprint outlined of the former Midtown parking garage on 9th Street between Orange and Shipley Street. You see the outline of two buildings there, which will be one apartment complex, 231 residential units over top of 500 parking spaces. And just to show this in elevation, we show kind of all the different angles. The bottom right-hand corner identifies Burton Place. It's kind of an alley that we're going to cut through from Shipley to Orange that kind of will divide the two buildings and provide the access to the parking. We'll also commemorate, that's in honor of Dutch Burton, former Wilmington City Councilman. At the site of the Wilmington Parking Authority garage, there was a restaurant. Dutch Burton was along with others, was denied access there. He was African-American, denied access there in the late 1950s. Went on to sue in Chancery Court. The restaurant was forced to accommodate him. That decision was overturned in the Delaware Supreme Court. And then Lewis Redding represented Dutch Burton before the U.S. Supreme Court to revise Delaware's accommodation law. So it's a significant piece of our civil rights history, and we're going to work to commemorate it not only by naming that place, but by creating a real legitimate recognition. This is kind of the summary of all the projects we've talked about, but it represents, when we complete by 2016 or 2017, $452 million worth of investment just in the residential portfolio in the city of Wilmington, and it represents more than 1,500 residential units. And this is kind of the map over the years, and I think an impressive number. When we talk about 5,000 in 5 years, this is at least one company's contribution to the total to get to 1,580 units. I would again like to thank the Chamber for this opportunity for all of us to kind of tell the other Wilmington story. It's ironic the News Journal left when all the good news started. I noticed their table's empty, but we do need a chance to, there's so much good happening in this great city. As someone who lived here and loves it, as many of you do, so pleased to share the stage and the room with so many people committed to our great city. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you, Michael. And yep, you were cleanup, man. Did a great job. And BPG is doing a great job adding units here. And as I said earlier, if you looked at the 4 presentations tonight, I believe that there's close to $1 billion that these groups are putting into our city. And the residential units that will be coming online, the opportunities to work at the hospital, JP Morgan, to interface with Delaware College of Art and Design are just truly phenomenal. So again, the message tonight, as we try to deliver with the theme here at our annual dinner, is that Wilmington is alive and well, and it is a great opportunity to invest. And as you saw, a lot of our members are doing just that. So The Metro Cafe is going to be open this evening, so if we'd like to continue some networking afterwards, that is, I would certainly encourage you to do that. But as we depart this evening, I'd like to just share with you a quote, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase it a little bit. It's something that that Margaret Mead said, and I came across it and I thought it was fitting to end tonight with this. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens or businesses can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. So with that as a thought, let's go back and go out about our business and our activities, and let's change Wilmington and let's make it the economic engine that it should be here in Delaware. Thank you and have a good evening.